Wednesday War College, we're back. Talk about what comes around goes around. There is a drunken thief was injured after falling on the sword of a statue of St. Michael the Archangel that he was trying to steal from a church in Monterey, New Mexico, and he injured his neck. Ouch. Yeah, Wednesday War College, we've got Dan and we've got Kyle. Hey, I want to take, this is a big subject. Talk about the noonday devil. The U.S. bishops put out a document on, it's called Clean Heart, on the problem of pornography, but I want to get more the solution. We know what pornography is. I would like to ask both of you, and I'd like to take 2 segments to do this because this is a big topic. Can the diabolical be involved in pornography? A, and B, what would be the Liber Christo response, solution, antidote to pornography, which is a huge problem in the West? Anyone, you first? So that's a 2-part question. First question is the diabolical involved in pornography, or is it just strictly human concupiscence and our fallen nature? And then secondly, what would be the solution that you would give a young man coming up to you, or even an old man coming up to you and asking you for advice?
Yeah, I think the short answer is yes. Wherever there is disorder, the demon is there, and sexual disorder. The demon's constantly tracking. Anytime we do any activity, thought, word, or deed, that is contrary to the indelible mark of baptism, is going to draw the demon to you. He's going to prompt you. He's been working this for a long, long time. Father Ripperger once asked the demon, "Why do you keep doing the same things?" And the demon replied, "Because they work." Very simple. So yeah, the demon is always going to be present with their sexual disorder. In fact, I'd like to see Kyle's take, but I think probably 85-90% of all the cases that we deal with have some element of sexual deviancy. And so part of what our protocol is a media fast. And so having that media fast, and use your phone only when absolutely necessary. Lent's coming up. This is a great penance. Yeah, you can give up chocolate. You can try to exercise so you look better and you're not as fat as you are. And that's all about you. Do something that's really going to change the interior life. Do a media fast. Do a hard shutdown. Not just a media fast on Fridays. How about just shutting it down completely? So you have to overcome it. You have to first remove the temporal temptation. Right? The near occasion of sin has to be removed. And so this is what we do on a functional level with Liber Christo. And of course, all the practical stuff, you've got to militate. It can't just be invoking St. Anthony, as great as he is, or St. Mary Magdalene. You're not going to outwit the demon. You're going to invoke their help, but you also have to engage at the bodily level. You've got to start doing penance. You've got to start mortifying the flesh, because you have to start getting the lower faculties where the demon of impurity is going to manipulate. You got to get those subdued through the good old fashioned methods that the tradition of the church has always used. Prayer, fasting, almsgiving. You've got to mortify the flesh as part of it, and that in combination with help from the mystical body are 2 elements of it. And then, of course, the very practical stuff: custody of the intellect. You have to learn custody, not intellect, the imagination. You have to learn that first through withdrawing through this media fast to learn right control. The majority of over 50 to 60% of children have seen pornography. 3/4 of them use pornography. But 60% of them almost now seen pornography through accidental searches. Why? Because we're just on the internet like, hey, gee, who was in this movie, or I wonder what this means. We're misusing the internet, and it's rewiring the way we think, and we're being drawn into that and being set up and trapped by the enemy. Kyle?
Yeah, Dan gives us an excellent view, and I think it's absolutely accurate. If you go around a different flank and see the same formation from a different angle, it's not that anything that Dan said was incorrect. Our understanding is enhanced by the different angles that we take, and so look at it. First of all, let's look at it a couple of different ways. Is the diabolical present to it? Yes. but the diabolical does not instigate it. And we absolutely have to understand this. In today's day and age, when we're all a bunch of snowflakes and we don't want to be responsible for anything bad, but we want all the credit for anything that is good, we've got to understand this disposition, this inaccurate, disordered disposition. The demon doesn't instigate it. We instigate it. He augments it. He drives it once we're already started down that path. Again, back to the garden. Eve is standing there looking at the fruit when the snake speaks. It's not that the thought had not occurred to her before the snake speaks. So that's one premise, is the demon is there, but he's there as a secondary principle, not as a primary principle. Second observation is that especially in men, the use of pornography. Now, the use of pornography in men and the use of pornography in women has two different psychological and physiological mechanisms. And so let's talk about that, because it's becoming more and more prevalent in women as well. But they're different. Here's how they're different. And this is, modern psychology does not get this, especially the psychologists that are present to exorcists and those who deal in deliverance. By and large, they miss this because they're applying modern psychology methodology to this, not St. Thomas Aquinas Thomistic principles. The Thomistic principles, as Father Ripperger says, the demon understands us the way St. Thomas describes us and talks about us. Modern psychology does not use this model, and they're not going to be effective in what I'm about to talk about, which is how do you address it? So number one is to address the mechanism in men, and I'll talk you through the sequential points. Now, they may happen very quickly. They're not chronological, but they're sequential. So there's a cycle that leads to pornography. And the more often this cycle is taken, the quicker it happens and the more automatic it becomes. It's a habituated behavior. So number one is there is an attack or an event which challenges the man's self-image. So that's where it starts. There is a statement, an event. There's something that challenges the man's self-image, and he takes offense. It may be anger, it may not be anger, but he takes offense. The next stop in this cycle or this descent is sins against hope. He will despair, or he will feel futility because people do not see him as he wants himself to be seen or as he sees himself. And this is a sin against hope. At the moment that the man sins against hope, which is embodied by the second person of the Trinity, the moment that he does that, he now is open to the prospect of self-harm. And then when he looks at the image, that is self-harm, because he's scarring his intellect, he's scarring his imagination, he's scarring his phantasm by taking in an image that is inconsistent with his state in life. And it doesn't matter whether he's married or single. Pornography is inconsistent with his state in life and his spiritual obligations. If he's married, to his wife through chastity. If he's single, to his future wife or future vocation, again through chastity. And if he goes so far as self-harm in the form of masturbation, now he's done a malefice. He's done a physical act requisite with the sin, and now the demon is going to be present to him in a very, very real way. So the spilling of the seed outside the procreative act, now we go straight to Genesis 2, where God blessed them, saying, go forth and multiply. He's saying that to a married couple. He's saying that to Adam and Eve. He's saying that is reserved to the conjugal act within the sacrament of matrimony. So there's you a short riff on masculine pornography. Does that make sense?
Yep. Let me define pornography for the audience. Paragraph 2354 says pornography consists in removing real or simulated sexual acts from the intimacy of the partners in order to display them deliberately to third parties. It offends against chastity because it perverts the conjugal act, the intimate giving of spouses to each other. It does grave injury to the dignity of its participants, actors, vendors, the public, since each one becomes an object of base pleasure and illicit profit for others. It immerses all who are involved in the illusion of a fantasy world.